The judgment chamber stretched so high that clouds formed near its ceiling. Ambassador Marcus Webb stood on a platform that floated 300 meters above the ground, surrounded by holographic projections of alien species he could barely pronounce. Some had tentacles. Others had scales. A few existed as clouds of gas contained in transparent suits. They all stared down at him with expressions that ranged from curiosity to open hostility. Beside Marcus stood General Victoria Cross, her military uniform crisp despite the 18-hour journey through council space. Her hands stayed clasped behind her back, and her face showed nothing. Marcus envied that control. His own heart hammered against his ribs. Above them, Overlord Thune rose from his seat. The Catharian leader stood 4 meters tall, his 6 arms moving in patterns that Marcus's translator chip struggled to interpret. When Thune spoke, his voice filled the entire chamber like thunder. "Humanity of Earth," Thune began, "you stand accused of violating the primitive species protocol. 8 years ago, we granted your species membership in this council as an act of mercy. We offered you protection, trade, and knowledge. In return, you were to remain peaceful. You were to accept our guidance." Marcus opened his mouth to respond, but Thune raised 3 arms for silence. Instead, the Overlord continued, "You have built fleets. You have expanded your military academies. You have developed weapons and trained soldiers in numbers that concern this council. Today, we present evidence of your violations. Today, you will answer for your actions." The holographic displays shifted. Images appeared showing Earth's orbital shipyards, military bases, and training facilities. Marcus recognized the footage. It was real, but incomplete. "These images," Thune said, "were taken by our observation vessels over the past 3 years. They show a species preparing for war. Humanity has constructed 200 warships. You have 5 million active military personnel. Your weapons research has accelerated beyond what any peaceful species requires." Murmurs rippled through the assembled aliens. Some species hissed. Others clicked their approval of Thune's words. A Vrexian commander named Grath stood from his section. The reptilian warrior's scales gleamed under the chamber lights. "The evidence is clear. Humanity intends to threaten council space. I propose immediate action. My fleet currently orbits Earth. Give me the authority, and I will ensure their compliance." Marcus finally spoke. "May I respond to these accusations?" Thune's facial tendrils twitched. "You may speak, human." "Thank you, Overlord." Marcus kept his voice steady. "It's true that Earth has built a military, but the Council seems to misunderstand our reasons. When we first encountered your ships 8 years ago, we were observing a border conflict between 2 species. We watched vessels destroy each other with weapons that could crack planets. We realized then that the galaxy was not the peaceful place we had hoped. So you admit to militarization?" Grath demanded. "We admit to self-defense," Victoria said, speaking for the first time. "Your own protocols allow member species to maintain reasonable defensive forces." Thune's arms moved in what the translator interpreted as disagreement. "Reasonable, yes. But 200 warships? 5 million soldiers? This exceeds defense?" Victoria smiled slightly. The expression made several nearby aliens shift uncomfortably. "Overlord Thune, may I ask a question?" "Speak." "Your intelligence reports show 200 ships and 5 million personnel. How confident are you in those numbers?" The chamber fell silent. Thune's eyes narrowed. "Our observation vessels are the finest in the galaxy. We see everything." "Everything we allow you to see," Victoria replied calmly. The chamber erupted. Aliens shouted in a dozen languages. Grath's hand moved to his weapon. Marcus felt his blood turn cold, but Victoria remained perfectly still. Thune raised all 6 arms. Silence returned gradually. "Explain yourself, General." "I'm simply pointing out that your observations may be incomplete. You've been watching us for 3 years. In that time, has it occurred to anyone that we might be watching back?" A new voice entered the conversation. Ambassador Terra of the Luminians floated forward. Her species existed as beings of living light, and her form pulsed with different colors as she spoke. Overlord Thune, perhaps we should hear the humans out. The Luminians have traded with Earth. We have found them honest and reasonable. Surely there is a peaceful resolution. Peace? Grath snarled. They just admitted to deception? They hide their true military strength. This proves they are dangerous. Marcus stepped forward. Commander Grath, we hide nothing. We simply don't broadcast our defensive capabilities to potential threats. Surely you understand basic strategic thinking? Grath's scales darkened with anger. You dare suggest the Council is a threat. I suggest that any power capable of destroying my homeworld should be treated carefully, Marcus replied. 8 years ago, we were invited to join this council. We accepted gratefully. But we also remembered what we saw in that border war. 2 species nearly destroyed each other over a minor dispute. We decided then that Earth would never be helpless. Thune leaned forward. So you have more ships. More weapons. How many? Victoria shook her head. That information is classified? Classified? Thune's voice rose. You stand in the judgment chamber of the Galactic Council and you refuse to answer? With respect, Overlord, we are not on trial. We have broken no laws. The primitive species protocol allows defensive forces. You may disagree with our interpretation of reasonable defense, but interpretation is not violation. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Grath moved forward, his hand definitely on his weapon now. I grow tired of these word games. Overlord Thune, grant me authority. My fleet will blockade Earth. We will inspect every military facility. We will count every ship and every weapon. Then this council will know the truth. Thune's arms moved in complex patterns. Marcus's translator chip interpreted it as consideration, weighing options. Finally, the Overlord spoke. Commander Grath. You have authority to position your fleet over Earth, Ambassador Webb, General Cross. You have 48 hours to provide complete military disclosure to this council. If you refuse, or if we discover you have hidden significant forces, the council will vote on punitive measures. This may include expulsion from the council and complete orbital blockade of your system. You will be cut off from galactic trade, travel, and protection. Marcus felt the weight of those words. Earth depended on alien technology for dozens of critical systems. Medical advances, power generation, food production for the colonies. A blockade would be devastating. Victoria, however, nodded calmly. 48 hours, understood? As guards escorted them from the chamber, Marcus leaned close to the general. Please tell me you have a plan. Victoria's smile returned. Grath's fleet orbits Earth right now. Admiral Holt knows they're coming. And the commander is about to learn why Earth takes military training so seriously. But behind them, the council continued debating. Above Earth, Grath's fleet powered up their weapons. In the command center of humanity's defense station, Admiral James Holt watched the alien. Ships positioned themselves and quietly gave orders. That would change everything the galaxy thought it knew about human warfare. The 48-hour countdown had begun. Commander Grath watched. Earth rotated below his flagship. The blue planet looked peaceful from orbit, almost primitive. His tactical display showed the 200 human vessels scattered throughout the system. They were smaller than his ships, less advanced. This would be simple. Open a channel to the planet, he ordered. His communications officer, a young Vrexian named Krell, worked the controls. Within seconds, a human face appeared on the screen. Admiral James Holt looked tired, but his eyes were sharp. Commander Grath, Holt said, I assume you're here to deliver the Council's demands. I am here to ensure compliance, Grath replied. You will allow my inspection teams to land at all military installations. You will provide complete access to your shipyards, weapons facilities, and command centers. Any resistance will be considered an act of war. Holt was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. Commander, I have a counterproposal. You turn your fleet around and leave our system? We'll provide the Council with the information they requested through proper diplomatic channels. Grath's scales flushed red with anger. You are in no position to make demands, human. I have 300 warships. You have 200 inferior vessels. My troops are the finest warriors in the galaxy. Your planet will comply, or we will force compliance. I see, Holt said. Then I suppose we're doing this the hard way. The screen went dark. Grath turned to his tactical officer. Begin landing operations. Target their military installations in the northern continent and the eastern landmass. Deploy 20,000 troops. Show them the consequences of defiance. Landing craft launched from the Vrexian vessels. They streaked through Earth's atmosphere, heading for coordinates that intelligence had marked as major military bases. Grath watched with satisfaction. By this time tomorrow, the humans would understand their place. The first landing craft touched down near a massive complex in North America. Captain Rachel Stone watched from her position inside the command bunker. Around her, 200 soldiers checked their weapons and equipment. They had been drilling for this scenario for 3 years, ever since Earth joined the Council. All units, this is Stowe. "Ni," she said into her com. "Enemy has landed. Execute plan, Griffin." Across the base, human forces began moving. The Vrexian troops emerged from their craft expecting resistance. Instead, they found the outer perimeter abandoned. Buildings stood empty. Defensive positions were unmanned. It looked like the humans had fled. Grath received reports from multiple landing zones. The same situation at every site? "Cowards," he muttered. "They run from battle. Standard occupation protocols. Move your forces into the facilities and secure them." What Grath didn't know was that every base his troops entered had been prepared for exactly this invasion. As Vrexian soldiers moved deeper into the complexes, human forces struck from concealed positions. Small teams appeared from tunnels, from hidden bunkers, from buildings that seemed empty. The Vrexians discovered their first problem immediately. They were used to fighting species from low-gravity worlds. Most alien soldiers were tall and thin, adapted to planets with weak gravitational pull. Humans evolved on a high-gravity world. They were shorter, denser, and far stronger than their size suggested. A Vrexian trooper named Vex kicked down a door and found himself facing a human soldier half his height. He raised his weapon confidently. The human moved faster than Vex thought possible, ducking under his aim and striking with a combat knife. The blade penetrated Vrexian armor that was supposed to stop most weapons. Vex fell, gasping. This scene repeated across all landing zones. Vrexian troops, trained to fight in low-gravity environments, couldn't adapt to human speed and strength. The humans moved like they weighed nothing, jumping to heights that should have been impossible, striking with force that cracked alien armor. Captain Stone led her team through the base corridors. They moved as a unit, covering each other with practiced precision. When they encountered a group of 10 Vrexians, the aliens tried to form a defensive line. Stone's team flanked them in seconds, using corridors and passages that the base intelligence maps didn't show. The Vrexians fell without landing a single shot. "Commander Grath," Krell reported from his station on the flagship, "we're receiving distress calls from multiple ground teams. They're requesting reinforcement." Grath couldn't believe what he was hearing. Distress calls? "We landed 20,000 troops against scattered defenders. How are they requesting help?" "Sir, the casualty reports are severe. We've lost contact with 60% of our ground forces." 60%? Grath's voice rose. "In how long?" Krell checked his display. 4 hours, sir." Grath pulled up the tactical feeds from his troops' armor cameras. What he saw made his blood run cold. Humans fighting with coordination and skill that matched the galaxy's elite forces. They used combined tactics, communications, and weapons that seemed primitive but proved devastatingly effective. They turned every building into a fortress, every corridor into a kill zone. In the council chambers, Overlord Thune watched the same feeds. The assembled species fell silent as they realized what they were seeing. These weren't poorly trained defenders. These were professional soldiers operating with precision that most species couldn't match. Ambassador Terra's form pulsed with concern. "Overlord, the humans are not fighting like primitives. Each soldier moves with years of training. Their tactics are sophisticated. A reptilian council member named Voss spoke up. How is this possible? Our intelligence said they've only had 8 years of space travel. Military forces take generations to develop such skill. Marcus Webb stepped forward. He had been standing quietly at the edge of the chamber, watching the feeds. Now he addressed the council. Council members, Earth has been developing military doctrine for 10,000 years. We have been fighting wars since before we discovered fire. Every human soldier trains for years before they see combat. Every officer studies strategy and tactics in academies that are centuries old. You assume that because we're new to space travel, we must be new to warfare. That was your mistake. Grath, listening from his flagship, made a decision. His ground forces were losing. The humans were too strong, too skilled. He needed to change the situation. All vessels, target the cities surrounding our ground forces. Prepare orbital bombardment. We'll turn their victory into ashes. Admiral Holt received the weapons lock warnings immediately. The Vrexian fleet was powering up their main guns, targeting civilian population centers. He opened a direct channel to Grath. Commander, if you fire on our cities, this becomes a war. Is that really what you want? Grath's face filled the screen, scales dark with rage. You have slaughtered my troops. You have humiliated the Council's authority. Earth will learn respect, or Earth will burn. You have 1 minute to surrender your ground forces, or I open fire. Holt's expression didn't change. You're making a terrible mistake, Grath, but I suppose you need to learn the hard way. He cut the transmission and opened his fleet-wide channel. All ships, execute Broken Arrow, authorization code Holt 77 Omega. Across Earth's orbital space, human vessels began moving. They had been positioned carefully over the past 48 hours, seeming to stay clear of the Vrexian fleet. Now they accelerated toward engagement positions. Grath watched his tactical display with satisfaction. The human ships were finally responding, but too late. He had superior numbers and firepower. All batteries, open fire on surface targets. Destroy the cities. The Vrexian fleet launched their first salvo. Energy beams and kinetic rounds streaked toward Earth's surface. Then something impossible happened. Defense satellites that hadn't appeared on any Vrexian scan suddenly activated. Point defense systems that shouldn't exist intercepted the bombardment. 90% of Grath's attack was stopped before reaching the atmosphere. And then the human fleet's true numbers revealed themselves. Stealth ships that had been hiding in plain sight for days powered up their engines and weapons. What had been 200 vessels became 2,000 in seconds. They surrounded the Vrexian fleet from every angle. Admiral Holt's voice came over an open channel that every ship in the system could hear. Commander Grath, you wanted to see Earth's military strength? Allow me to demonstrate what a human professional army can really do. The battle began in earnest, and the galaxy watched in stunned silence as everything they thought they knew about human warfare proved to be completely wrong. The Vrexian flagship shuddered as human weapons found their mark. Commander Grath gripped his command chair, watching his tactical display dissolve into chaos. 2,000 human vessels swarmed his fleet like angry insects. They moved wrong, too fast, making turns that should have killed their crews. Evasive maneuvers, Grath shouted. His helmsman tried to comply, but the human ships anticipated every move. They fought like they could read minds, always where the Vrexians didn't want them to be. Krell frantically worked his console. Sir, their ships are pulling 15 gravity turns. No living crew could survive that. Then how are they doing it? Grath demanded. The answer came from Admiral Holt over the open channel. Commander, you and your species evolved on a low-gravity world. Your bodies are fragile. Ours are not. Every human pilot can handle forces that would turn your crews into paste. We've been training for high-gravity combat since we first left our planet. A human destroyer screamed past the flagship's viewport, so close that Grath could see the name painted on its hull, Resolution. It rolled 90 degrees while accelerating and fired a salvo that crippled a nearby Vrexian cruiser. The maneuver was impossible by every standard of galactic naval doctrine. In the council chambers, Military observers from a dozen species watched the battlefields with growing horror. The humans didn't just have more ships. They had completely different tactics. They fought in 3 dimensions, while the Vrexian fleet, like most galactic navies, thought primarily in flat orbital planes. Colonel David Park commanded the experimental kinetic strike group from his vessel Hammer. His squadron consisted of 20 ships built around a single purpose, accelerating solid projectiles to relativistic speeds. The weapons were primitive by galactic standards. No energy shields, no exotic particles, just dense metal moving at significant fractions of light speed. All units target their heavy cruisers, Park ordered. Fire on my mark. The Vrexian vessels had shields designed to disperse energy weapons. They were excellent against lasers and plasma. Against solid matter moving at relativistic velocity, they were useless. Park's squadron fired. 20 projectiles crossed the distance in heartbeats. When they hit, the kinetic energy released was comparable to nuclear weapons. 5 Vrexian cruisers simply ceased to exist, torn apart by impacts they never saw coming. Grath watched his fleet die. In 17 minutes of combat, he had lost 40 ships and damaged twice that number. The humans hadn't lost a single vessel. They moved too fast, fought too smart, anticipated every tactic the Vrexians tried. Withdraw, Grath finally ordered. All ships retreat to jump distance. As the Vrexian fleet limped away from Earth, Grath opened a channel to the Council. Overlord Thune's face appeared, his expression unreadable. Overlord, Grath said, his voice heavy with defeat. I was wrong. Humanity is not primitive. Their military is the most sophisticated I have ever encountered. We engaged with superior numbers and were decimated. I recommend the Council reconsider its position. Thune's arms moved in patterns of contemplation. Your commendation is noted, Commander. However, you are not the only military force in the galaxy. Others believe you simply underestimated your opponent. Others are fools, Grath replied. But they will learn as I did. The transmission ended. Admiral Holt watched the Vrexian fleet jump away and then opened a channel to all human forces. Good work, everyone. Recall ground troops and secure positions. Medical teams tend to casualties. Command, compile a full report for Ambassador Webb. Captain Stone emerged from the base she had defended. Her uniform was torn and scorched, but she was smiling. Around her, human soldiers secured Vrexian prisoners who looked at their captors with new respect and fear. The invaders had expected easy victory. Instead, they had encountered soldiers who trained harder, fought smarter, and never gave up. Back on the Council station, Marcus Webb received Holt's report. He read it carefully and then addressed the Council members who had demanded humanity's military disclosure. Overlord Thune, Council members, Marcus began. You asked for the truth about Earth's military. Here it is. We have not 200 ships, but 2,000. We have not 5 million active personnel, but 50 million when you include reserves and support staff. Our military academies have been teaching warfare for 300 years. Every soldier serves a minimum of 4 years. Every officer studies for 8. We take defense seriously because our history taught us the cost of weakness. A Krathan representative named Dax stood from his seat. The insectoid warrior's mandibles clicked with aggression. You lied to the Council. You hid your strength. This is betrayal. Victoria Cross stepped forward. We revealed exactly what the Council's protocols required. Member species must maintain reasonable defensive forces. We maintain them. The fact that your intelligence couldn't penetrate our security is not our problem. Dax's compound eyes glittered with anger. The Krathan Empire does not accept this. We propose that the Council assemble a punishment fleet. Humanity must be taught that deception has consequences. Several species voiced agreement. Others remained silent. Ambassador Terra pulsed with warning colors. This is madness. The Vrexians just demonstrated that humanity can defend itself. Attacking them again will only cause more bloodshed. The Vrexians were weak, Dax replied. They always have been. The Krathan Empire offers to lead a proper military response. We will bring 10,000 ships. We will show humanity what real galactic power looks like. Overlord Thune raised his arms for silence. The Krathan proposal has merit. If humanity truly has only 2,000 ships, even their superior tactics cannot defeat overwhelming force. We shall put it to a vote. Marcus felt his stomach drop. The vote was close, but the faction supporting military action won. 5 major galactic powers, led by the Krathan Empire, would assemble the largest fleet seen in 900 years. They would teach humanity respect, or they would destroy Earth's ability to threaten anyone. Victoria, however, seemed unconcerned. As they left the chamber, Marcus grabbed her arm. "General, they're sending 10,000 ships. We can't fight that many." "We can't win a straight battle," Victoria agreed. "Fortunately, we don't fight straight battles. Tell me, Marcus, do you know what makes a professional army truly dangerous? Superior training? Partially. But the real answer is strategic depth. A professional military doesn't just train soldiers. It trains thinkers. Every human officer learns history, psychology, logistics, and dozens of other disciplines. We don't just know how to fight. We know how to win. And we've been preparing for exactly this scenario since we joined the council. You expected them to attack us?" Victoria smiled grimly. "We expected someone would eventually challenge us. The galaxy doesn't respect words. It respects strength. So we're going to demonstrate strength in a way the council will never forget." Admiral Holt received Victoria's encrypted orders 3 hours later. He read them twice, making sure he understood correctly. Then he smiled. The general was right. The galaxy needed a lesson, and the human professional army was about to provide the most comprehensive education in military affairs that the cosmos had ever seen. The punishment fleet would arrive in 2 weeks. That gave humanity exactly enough time to prepare a welcome that would echo through galactic history for generations. War leader Dax stood on the bridge of his flagship, Conqueror, watching 10,000 vessels assemble in formation. Ships from 5 species, the largest military force gathered in nearly a millennium. The Krathan Empire had contributed 4,000 vessels. The Vroth Collective added 3,000. Other powers filled out the rest. They represented the galaxy's military might, united in purpose, teaching humanity a final lesson. "All vessels report ready, War Leader," his tactical officer reported. The officer's mandibles clicked with anticipation. This would be glorious. This would be history. Dax opened a channel to the fleet. "Warriors of the punishment fleet, today we correct a mistake. The council showed mercy to a primitive species. The species responded with arrogance and deception. We will show them the consequences. We will demonstrate true galactic power. Set course for Earth system. Maximum speed." The journey took 6 days. During that time, council observers filled the communication channels with pleas for restraint. Ambassador Terra personally begged Dax to reconsider. Overlord Thune offered to mediate. Dax ignored them all. Humanity needed to learn, and the lesson would be written in fire. Admiral Holt watched the massive fleet approach on long-range sensors. 10,000 ships. More firepower than Earth had ever faced. More firepower than most wars in galactic history had deployed. His tactical team worked frantically, updating scenarios and probabilities. None looked good. "Sir," his communications officer said quietly, "Ambassador Webb is requesting to speak with you." Marcus appeared on screen, looking exhausted. Behind him, the council chambers buzzed with activity. "Admiral, the vote failed. We couldn't stop them. The punishment fleet is coming." "I know," Holt replied calmly. "We've been tracking them for days. Can we survive this?" Holt considered the question. Truthfully, if this became a standard engagement, humanity would lose. 10,000 ships against 2,000 was impossible odds. But Victoria had sent specific orders, and those orders changed everything. "Marcus, tell the council to watch carefully. They wanted to see what Earth's military can really do. They're about to get a comprehensive demonstration." The punishment fleet arrived at Neptune's orbit. Dax chose the location deliberately. Far enough from Earth that civilian casualties would be minimal, close enough that the planet's defenders would have to respond. He wanted a clean military victory, not a genocide. Human vessels detected, his tactical officer reported. 2,000 ships holding position near Neptune. They're not running. Good, Doc said. They choose to die with honor. All vessels attack formation. Show them what happens when primitives challenge the galaxy. The fleet began its approach. Then something strange happened. The human ships didn't advance to meet them. Instead, they spread out using Neptune's massive gravity well to slingshot into unexpected positions. They moved like they understood orbital mechanics better than species that had been traveling space for thousands of years. Colonel Park commanded the kinetic strike group again. This time, his squadron had grown to 200 vessels. They dove toward Neptune's upper atmosphere, using the planet's massive bulk as cover. The punishment fleet sensors lost them in the electromagnetic chaos of the gas giant storms. All units, load heavy ordnance, Park ordered. We're only getting one pass at this. Make it count. Dax watched the humans disappear into Neptune's atmosphere with confusion. What are they doing? Do they plan to hide in the storms? That's cowardly. His tactical officer's mandibles twitched nervously. War leader, human vessels emerging from the opposite side of the planet. They're using the gravity to accelerate. Park's squadron shot out of Neptune's gravity well like bullets from a gun. They had gained tremendous velocity from the slingshot maneuver, and they used every bit of it. 200 ships fired relativistic projectiles at point-blank range into the tightly packed punishment fleet. The results were catastrophic. 50 ships vanished instantly, torn apart by kinetic impacts. 100 more suffered critical damage. The formation collapsed as vessels tried to scatter, but they ran into the second part of humanity's trap. Commodore Lisa Grant commanded what Earth's military called the submarine fleet. 50 vessels designed specifically to operate in gas giant atmospheres. They had been hiding in Neptune's storms, waiting. Now they emerged like predators, firing into the chaos. Target their command ships, Grant ordered. Cut off their coordination. Human weapons were primitive compared to most galactic technology, but they were reliable and redundant. While other species depended on complex energy systems, humans had backup systems for their backup systems. Their missiles used simple chemical propulsion. Their railguns required only electricity. Their tactics assumed that half their technology would fail and planned accordingly. The punishment fleet tried to regroup. Dax shouted orders attempting to restore formation. But the humans had studied every species in the fleet. They knew Krathan vessels had powerful forward shields but weak rear protection. They knew Vroth ships relied on network targeting that could be disrupted. They knew exactly where to hit. And how to hit it. Captain Rachel Stone, promoted to command after her ground combat performance, led a squadron of fast attack vessels. Her ships were tiny compared to the alien capital ships, but they darted between the larger vessels like sharks among whales. They targeted engines, communications arrays, weapon systems. They didn't try to destroy the bigger ships, just cripple them. Stone to all units, she broadcast. Remember your training? Hit and run. Never stay in one place. Make them chase you into kill zones. The battle raged for 6 hours. In that time, the punishment fleet lost 4,000 ships. 4,000 vessels reduced to debris or floating hulks. The humans lost 300 ships, primarily to lucky shots or overwhelming local force. But those losses were calculated, acceptable. Dax finally understood what he faced. This wasn't just a well-trained military. This was an entire species that had spent 10,000 years learning how to kill efficiently. Every tactic the humans used was centuries old, refined through countless wars on their home planet. They fought dirty, they fought smart, and they never fought fair. All vessels, withdraw, Dax ordered, his voice hollow with defeat. We cannot win this. His tactical officer stared at him. War leader, we still outnumber them. Numbers mean nothing against an enemy that thinks better than you do. Look at our casualties. Look at theirs. They've been 3 moves ahead of us since the battle started. They chose this battlefield. They chose the tactics. They led us exactly where they wanted us. We are not fighting a battle, officer. We are being taught a lesson. In the council chambers, silence reigned. Every species that had supported the punishment fleet stared at the tactical displays in shock. The humans weren't just winning. They were dominating. They fought like every engagement was life or death, because in their history, it always had been. Victoria Cross stood before the council and spoke calmly. Every human military officer studies 300 years of warfare. We learn from victories and defeats. We understand logistics, psychology, strategy, and tactics. We train our soldiers for years because we know that good training saves lives. We build redundant systems because we know that equipment fails. We prepare for the worst because our history taught us that the worst always comes eventually. You wanted to see a professional army. Now you have? Overlord Thune's arms moved in patterns of defeat. The punishment fleet is withdrawing. The lesson has been learned, but not by humanity. Dax's transmission reached the council. His image showed a broken warrior. Overlord, I recommend the council cease all hostile actions against Earth. Their military is sophisticated beyond anything we imagined. They don't just fight. They think. Every human soldier is trained to adapt and improvise. Every officer is taught to anticipate and counter. They are not primitive. They are the most dangerous military force in known space. But even as he spoke, new reports reached the council. The Enforcement Armada, the council's own military force, had activated. 50,000 vessels, the ultimate authority of galactic law, were moving toward Earth system. Someone had decided that if the punishment fleet couldn't handle humanity, then the galaxy's final option would have to do so. The Enforcement Armada arrived like a storm. 50,000 vessels, representing every military technology the galaxy had developed over thousands of years. Commander Orlax stood at the center of his flagship's bridge, a towering figure of authority. His species, the Talvex, had commanded the Armada for 600 years. They had never lost a battle. "Open a channel to Earth," Orlax ordered. His voice was deep and resonant. Carrying the weight of absolute authority, Admiral Holt appeared on screen, looking older and more tired than he had 2 weeks ago. Behind him, reports scrolled across displays showing repair efforts and casualty lists. Earth had won 2 battles, but at a cost. "Commander Orlax," Holt said formally. "I assume you're here to finish what the punishment fleet started." "I am here to enforce the Council's will," Orlax replied. "Humanity has demonstrated military capability beyond what was reported. This cannot be tolerated. You will surrender your fleet for decommissioning. You will dismantle your military infrastructure. You will accept Council oversight of all defensive forces. These terms are not negotiable." Holt was silent for a long moment. Then he said quietly, "Let me speak with Ambassador Webb first." "Give me 1 hour." Orlax considered. An hour was nothing. His fleet had absolute superiority. The humans had lost 300 ships in the previous battle. They were tired, damaged, running low on supplies. They couldn't possibly stand against 50,000 vessels. 1 hour. Then we begin enforcement operations. The transmission ended. Holt immediately opened a channel to the council station where Marcus and Victoria waited. Both looked as exhausted as he felt. "They're giving us 1 hour," Holt said. Then Orlax starts shooting. "I need options." Victoria's expression remained calm. "We have one option left. The one we've been preparing since the day we joined the council." Marcus looked at her sharply. "Victoria, we agreed that was the last resort. If we use that, there's no going back." "There's already no going back," Victoria replied. "The galaxy has decided we're too dangerous to exist as we are. They'll either break us or respect us. We need to show them something they can't ignore." She pulled up a data file and transmitted it to both men. Marcus read it and went pale. Holt read it and smiled grimly. "This is insane. But it might work." "It will work," Victoria corrected, "because it's the truth. And sometimes the truth is the most powerful weapon we have. 1 hour later, Marcus Webb stood before the Galactic Council once more. But this time, his posture was different. He wasn't pleading or explaining. He was presenting facts. Overlord Thune, Council members, Marcus began. For 8 years we've been members of this council. In that time we've observed, learned, and analyzed. We've studied every species, every military doctrine, every political structure. We've done this because it's what we do. Humans prepare. We plan. We think ahead. He activated a holographic display. This is a complete tactical analysis of every major species' military capabilities. Strengths, weaknesses, preferred tactics, command structures, and probable responses to various scenarios. We have them for all of you. The council erupted in shock. Marcus continued calmly. The Crothan Empire prefers overwhelming frontal assault but lacks logistical depth for extended campaigns. The Vroth Collective has excellent technology but poor coordination between fleet elements. The Catharians have powerful ships but predictable tactical doctrine. The Talvex Enforcement Armada is formidable but has never adapted to asymmetric warfare. Overlord Thune's arms moved in patterns of anger. You dare spy on council members? We dare to survive, Marcus replied. Every species in this chamber has intelligence services. Every species watches others for advantage. The difference is that humans are very good at it. We've had 10,000 years to perfect the art of intelligence gathering. We know your strengths because we respect them. We know your weaknesses because we might need to exploit them someday. Victoria stood and walked to the center of the chamber. Humanity didn't want to be the galaxy's enemy. We wanted to be partners. But you demanded we disarm while keeping your own forces intact. You sent fleets to intimidate us, then to punish us. You've proven that the Council respects only strength. So let me explain what strength means to humans. She pulled up new displays. On Earth, we have military academies that are 300 years old. We have strategic think tanks that analyze every possible conflict scenario. We have officers who train for 8 years before commanding a single ship. We have soldiers who drill until complex tactics become instinct. We don't have a military. We have a culture of military excellence that spans our entire history. Commodore Lisa Grant's image appeared on the displays, speaking from her flagship. Every human officer studies history. We learn from Sun Tzu, from Clausewitz, from Alexander and Napoleon, and 100 other strategic thinkers. We understand that war is not about technology. It's about thinking faster and better than your enemy. Colonel David Park appeared next. We design weapons that other species dismiss as primitive. But simple weapons don't fail. Simple tactics don't break down. Complex systems are vulnerable. Redundant systems survive. We build for reliability because we know that battles are won by who's still fighting when everything goes wrong. Captain Rachel Stone spoke last. Every human soldier trains for years, not because we love war, but because we understand its cost. We know that good training saves lives. We know that discipline and skill make the difference between victory and defeat. We take military service seriously because we've seen what happens when you don't. Marcus brought up the final display. It showed detailed battle plans for engagements against every major galactic species. 30 years of strategic planning all laid out for the Council to see. This is what you face if you fight us. We know how you think. We know how you fight. We've planned for every scenario. Commander Orlax, your enforcement armada is powerful, but we've war-gamed battles against forces twice your size. Would you like to know the results? Orlax's image appeared on the main screen. He had been listening from his flagship. Show me. Victoria nodded. The displays changed, showing simulation after simulation. In every scenario, humanity lost between 40 and 60% of their forces. But in every scenario, the enforcement armada lost between 70 and 90%. The simulations were detailed, professional, and absolutely convincing. We don't want this war, Marcus said quietly. The casualties would be horrific on both sides. But if you force it, we will fight. And even if you win, the cost will cripple the Armada for a generation. Is that really what the Council wants? Overlord Thune's arms moved slowly. What do you want, humanity? Respect, Victoria replied. Recognition that our military exists for defense, not aggression. A permanent seat on the Council's Security Committee. And most importantly, for the galaxy to understand that professional military excellence is not a threat. It's an asset. Ambassador Terra floated forward, her light form pulsing with hope. Overlord, the humans are right. We forced them into this position. We threatened them repeatedly. They've proven they can defend themselves. Why not let them defend the Council as well? Orlac spoke from his flagship. I have reviewed the human tactical analyses. They are accurate and sophisticated. I have run my own simulations of engagement with Earth's forces. The results match what they presented. If we fight, we win, but barely. The cost would be unacceptable. He paused, then continued. I propose an alternative. Humanity joins the Enforcement Armada as strategic advisors. They train our forces in their tactics. They help us improve our doctrine. In return, Earth maintains its military and gains full Council security status. Dax, listening from his own recovering fleet, added his voice. The Krathan Empire supports this. We have learned that respect must be earned through capability. Humanity has earned our respect. The vote took 3 hours of debate. Species argued, factions formed and reformed. But eventually the truth became clear. Fighting humanity would be costly and accomplish nothing. Working with them would make the entire galaxy stronger. When the final tally appeared, the measure passed. Earth would retain its military. Humanity would join the Council's Security Committee. Human officers would train galactic forces in modern warfare. And most importantly, the galaxy would remember that dismissing a species as primitive was the deadliest mistake you could make. Marcus and Victoria stood together, watching the vote results. Around them, Council members approached to offer congratulations or, in some cases, grudging acknowledgement. We did it, Marcus said quietly. We actually did it. We survived, Victoria corrected. And we taught the galaxy a lesson about professional military excellence. Now comes the hard part. What's that? Living up to the reputation we've built. The galaxy will be watching everything we do now. Every operation, every training exercise, every tactical decision. We've proven we're good. Now we have to stay good. Admiral Holt's voice came over their communication devices. Ambassador General, we're receiving long-range sensor alerts. Something's moving in the dark space beyond the galactic rim. Something big. Victoria and Marcus exchanged glances. The galaxy had just learned to respect humanity's military strength. Now they might discover exactly why that strength would be needed. The ancient threats that had driven species to form the Council in the first place were stirring again. And this time, humanity would stand on the front lines, ready to defend not just Earth, but the entire galaxy that had finally accepted them as equals. The real test of their professional army was yet to come.